Thank you very much for joining me today on the Freedom Driven Landscaper podcast, brought to you by the Lucrative Landscaping book. Patrick, I'm really happy to be speaking with you today. Thank you very much for joining me. Would you please tell me a little bit about your business and your journey to building what you've built today?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Chris. It's an honor to be here. Always pumped to hang out with fellow people in the industry and just get to share a passion for things. So, my name is Patrick Murray. I am one of two business owners at Local Root Landscaping. We are based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We are not wrapping up, but we are in our ninth season of business, ninth, 10th season of business. We started in May of 2014. And yeah, we have a team of just incredible builders, designers, admins. I mean, really, people are my biggest passion. That's the side of the business that I'm in charge of, or that I kind of keep moving forward. So the hiring and culture side, we are about 70% design build, 30% maintenance. But we are currently actually changing that model, and we are growing and scaling our maintenance side of things. So our hope is 2 years that we will be about 60/40 maintenance to install. So that's our goal right now. So we're investing quite a bit of time, money, resources, energy into the maintenance side of things. It's been a kind of a newfound passion. We let it not die, but we kind of like brushed it aside for a couple of years, and now we're the last 2 years we've been really pumping into that. So very exciting stuff there. My business partner, we've been best friends. His name is Ken. We've been best friends in middle school, I think. And it's truly like a marriage. It's an unromantic marriage that has all the moving parts of that. And we have great conflict resolution, and it's a fun dynamic. If he was available to have it both on here, but yeah, I think to sum it up about our company, we started to be just something that didn't exist in the landscaping industry. We never really wanted to compare ourselves to the Chuck and the trucks out there. We were always aspiring to be, just what the biggest company that was in our realm at that time. That's obviously changed and evolved, and we no longer really compare ourselves to companies out there. We really just want to provide our people internally, our clients, and then our communities with just an experience and an overall feeling that doesn't exist in our industry. And there are companies obviously all over the world doing probably similar stuff to us, but we do find ourselves to be pretty unique in the Pittsburgh area for what we try to accomplish on a daily basis.
Okay, cool. Wow, there's a lot of things that I'm going to want to ask you
Yeah.
about. So, first, getting started, what inspired you and your partner in the first place?
Yeah, great question. So I went to school for business and music. So my original thought was I would open up some sort of like jazz club or something, some sort of wine bar, right? So I had the business sense about me, but then the creative mix in that. But truth be told, I was mowing lawns and doing landscaping from middle school on. It was just something that came very naturally to me. And it was, very low barrier of entry to have, quick cash and work minimum hours to make more money than my friends were doing, at a standard 9 to 5 during the summer months. But what happened was my senior year in college, I realized, I truly had like started a small business, and, I had felt this pressure that landscaping wasn't this admirable thing to get into. It was like, it was a dirty job. It wasn't the thing that like college graduates should do. And that just really never sat with me very well, and I never really agreed with that because, I think the trades are something that are extremely undervalued and not respected, and I knew that I had such a deep respect for what I was doing, what I had seen, us doing already, and so, really, I remember sitting on the recliner, in my college dorm studying for finals, and I was just jotting down all the names that I, was coming up with, and I searched the, like, PA database for local root landscaping, and it was available. So I remember that was just a turning point, realizing that we were gonna make a serious thing. And Kenneth at the time, my business partner, was going home on the weekends for me to mow my lawns if I couldn't get there, and then I would just give him the money for it. So it was like fun, like, already like agreement of a partnership before anything. And then, yeah, he and I came back that summer from school, and, we were kind of slow to buy in, to really make that like a serious career. And then, long story short, I maxed out my mom's credit cards to buy lawn mowers and tools without her knowledge. And we paid it off in 4 months. That was our first business loan credit card that my mom didn't know I was using, and paid it off. She never paid me for it, but that was when we got really serious because we knew we owed, right, that before we could do anything else. So That's obviously the Reader's Digest version, but um, you know, we saw like a particular like hole in our industry. Everyone was mowing lawns, right? Everyone can get a truck or a car and a mower and whatnot, but not everyone was treating customer service the way I had wanted it to be treated. Not everyone was judging their business the way I judged every business I shopped at or ate at. I had a very like critical sense in a positive way because I wanted people to like elevate their brand in a way. And so we're obsessive people, and that went that took us where we are now. So
Yeah, wow. Was there, I can really relate to that kind of falling into it story. There's a lot of us that have a similar story, but I do too. Was there, for me, it was the neighbors going on vacation and needing somebody to mow their lawn. So here's 20 bucks. And it was like, oh, it's worth that much. Okay, maybe I'll find some other people who need to go on vacation. Was there something similar for you at the very, very beginning, or what caught
yeah,
your eye there?
that's a great idea. So, it was actually I have like a significant passion to travel and have my free time be and my money to be spent on things like travel versus possession. And from a young age, the middle school, high school years, I didn't want to be bound to a job, and I wanted to have freedom to be able to like make money or make hay while the sun shines, right? And I saw that in there that my time could be worth a ton if I was allocating it toward things like lawn mowing, where there was pretty high margin in those days. We had no overhead, and so I love the idea of working my tail off and being able to travel if I plan my routes correctly, right? And so I think starting off, I remember I would walk down the street, from my parents' house in my football spikes, and I'd walk down and mow my neighbor's lawn with my dad's mower, Craftsman, $100 mower, from Depot, and but I remember the first rental property I mowed. They found me on Craigslist. They thought I was like some legitimate company. It was just the boy down the street though. But I created my invoice on Word, and I sent it in, and I had them on like a net 15, and it was like it felt so good to be emailing out about some agency, and so that's a very fond memory of like when I felt professional for the first time. That was in probably ninth grade.
Yeah, cool. Nice. You and I have a lot in common, it sounds like. I've been, just as a side note, I've lived in about 7 different countries in the last couple of years, in the last 2 years, and I'm living in Mexico City right now. I've been here since January. So yeah, I've been a lot of my motivation was to travel as well. Yeah.
Very
Mm,
cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah. So, okay, there are a few things that I want to dig into. I'm trying to think of what order. So, well, okay, first one that comes to mind is a lot of guys are trying to shift their business in one direction or another, whether it be, less winter services and more summer, or the opposite sometimes, or exactly what you're working on now between design and installation versus maintenance. It seems like a lot of guys think the grass is greener on the other side, and often it is. And what is interesting to me, though, is it seems like typically a lot of guys who do a lot of maintenance are trying to move more towards installation. So I'm really curious to hear your position to be going the other way.
Yeah, I'm so happy to chat about that because we've had quite the journey with it. And if you were to, see a sped up version of my brain in the last 10 years, I'd be so contradictory, right, with it with myself. But the reality is, you know, at first mowing and maintenance is what is very attainable for most people to get into, right? You don't necessarily know how to build hardscapes. You don't have a knack for designing, and things like that. And so mowing, and some small softscapes, things like that are very just approachable and easier to get into, right? And they're enjoyable if you love working with your hands. And there's nothing more satisfying than being able to see the instant gratification and instant product there. So that's how we started. And then just I think the natural drive for me to just want to increase skill sets, be challenged. I mean, I wish I was satisfied with staying with what we were doing, but it's just not a normal entrepreneur, right? You always want to like put yourself out there and basically fail a bunch of times. And that just seems to be fun for some reason. Um, so we really felt this longing to get into hardscapes. Part of it was comparison. We were really comparing ourselves to other companies. That wasn't the healthiest motivation there. We really wanted to be better than others and whatnot. But then it really did become more intrinsic in that I just wanted to be able to build cool things, and I didn't come from a background in construction. So it wasn't too long that I found it was actually very overwhelming for me to be the only builder in our company because I wasn't naturally talented. And so I loved to try to understand the concept of them. But when we started getting into larger format projects, and at the time, larger format might mean a 4 foot tall retaining wall in the backyard surrounded by a patio and some other small features. It wasn't huge, but even for me, I just it didn't come naturally. So it's pretty stressful. That's when we realized if we want to stay in this, we need to start developing a team to help to build these products that we were selling because we were very good at selling them. We were very good at landing them and kind of dreaming those with clients. But so then we started focusing all of our energy in design build. We still had the maintenance side going. It was basically one crew running, kind of autonomous at the time. We had, what we call a crew leader or manager of that crew as well. They're fully autonomous. We kind of neglected that because it was just on autopilot. We had a couple large, like Wendy's. We were cutting all the Wendy's in the area. So things that just brought in some cash. We didn't really think about it. It was very easy. But hardscaping and design was like the sexy version of landscaping. And I think we like neglected this really cool thing actually got us started, which was maintenance, right? And people talk down on maintenance, they talk down on lawn mowing, it's, unskilled, this and that. But as we were evolving and changing, we realized as our overhead was growing, right? We're now, $8 million company. Recurring revenue is a really big thing to think about, right? And these larger format commercial and high-end residential projects are actually quite frightening whenever you're fully extended on those. So the idea that first of all, recurring revenue is nice. You can have recurring revenue if you rethink how maintenance should work. And there are college degrees and tons of passionate people who are like coming into the world loving maintenance and like they actually have like a giant drive and skill set and degrees to back it. So we started seeing all these things at once. And we decided 2 years ago to invest in a landscape maintenance manager. That guy came in, he was from Penn State, and then bounced around different companies doing, different labor jobs and whatnot. But his passion was in developing and having the autonomy to develop someone's maintenance department. And oh my goodness, he has absolutely blown up what we had and couldn't be more thankful for him. His role has changed in a million different things because he's passion driven, right? He'll do anything to make this thing succeed because he's basically building his dream. And so roundabout way of saying started in maintenance, got into hardscapes because we were comparing ourselves and we thought that was like the only way to like make a name for ourselves. And it was basically sexier. And then we kind of, prodigal son like came back, realized like, wait a second, there's actually something really cool about maintenance. And we generally love it. We have tons of passionate people doing it. It's not unskilled, right? So it's fighting that voice in your head or even voice from friends or family or outsiders saying oh, is grass cutting all you do? Or is that like all you're able to do? Like whatever negativity is being fed you need to just like shut that out. It's absolute BS on me. So
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. Yeah, I think you make a really neat point about the on sort of the learning curve of it, where it has a really low. It's kind of really easy to get into, but then it's pretty difficult to do at scale, and that's why I
right.
see companies burning out. Is they can do the job of maintenance, but they have a hard time doing the job of maintaining 3, 4, 500 clients.
Yep.
There's also the side of the distribution of your clients and the amount of revenue they're bringing in. So there's the risk. There's sort of the risk reward of getting into commercial maintenance, where you can have a really big contract that's worth a lot, but that puts your business at risk. That if they disappear, then you have a big chunk that's gone. But if you can kind of balance that and be able to manage like customer support on scale, then the predictability of it is really nice, and the scalability of maintenance is, I would argue, more scalable than installation because um I don't want to say it's less to manage, but it's not at all. I totally agree with you that it is a skilled job, and to do it right is really difficult. But it might be harder to find the guy who's going to manage a big installation project than it would be to find a guy who will manage a maintenance crew or something. Do you agree with that
I do.
assessment? Or
I totally agree. And I think whenever you as a business owner start wrapping your head around the fact that I'm not speaking for everyone who's listening right now, but we are running a service, a service industry business, right? Like I am serving clients. So my heart as an entrepreneur, I am in the landscaping industry and I have a definite passion for the outdoors and for landscaping, but like I love owning businesses. I love creating things, right? And so yes, in this business, I can create the actual business and I can create really cool, beautiful things outside. So it's kind of neat that you get both of those in this world. But um when you start thinking of yourself as a service-based industry and business, start thinking about other ones, right? So we have, window cleaning, you have plumbing, you have electrician, you have, um, tire oil and lube, companies. Like the companies are doing like repetitive things, right? We'll call it repetitive. It doesn't mean negative. It's not negative. It's not a negative connotation, but it's things that can be duplicated and replicated at scale. And you can actually perfect and become very good at it if that service is there. So when we started and we were realizing like customer service is what's missing in our industry. Like a lot of people just don't communicate in any trade, not just landscaping, like answering the phone. If you answer the phone in our industry, your world is there's so many people, which is ridiculous, but we took advantage of that, right? So now, managing, like you said, 500, 600 clients, answer the phone, have someone who answers the phone, have an automated phone answering service, an automated website, right? These things are super simple once you start thinking about it. And then your original question was, do I view it as like it's simpler, I guess, in a way, because you're able to wrap your head around like a a replicable service. Whereas we're seeing in our design build types, it's amazing. We're doing awesome things. Our sales team is absolutely incredible. I don't know how they do what they do, but every job is different and every job is custom. I mean, literally, we don't have one flawless job, right? And it's like that's it's exhausting at times, right? And it's expensive at times, very expensive, so it's very nice to have something going that's nearly autonomous. I know it still has headaches. We're still hiring and firing people all the time. We're still losing clients. We're getting complaints. Of course, the business, right? But for the most part, it is truly on autopilot as much as a business can be, just like your reoccurring, maintenance clients, like I said, of window washing, right? You're showing up there every Monday. They're going to get it clean. Every once in a while you have an issue, but it's not custom. They're not changing their windows out every single Monday to a different stained glass, right? So it's very different.
Yeah, more moving parts, but smaller parts. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. That's why it's called that.
Yeah, interesting. How do you think of it in terms of, how the business's margins will change through that shift?
Yeah, good question. So we currently use LMN software, right? So we have two budgets. We have our install budget and our maintenance budget. We're pretty aggressive with our net profit goals, right? We don't always tip them, but we're pretty aggressive to start to see top of those. But I forget what the industry average is in general, just our industry. I think of like 3%, which is a ridiculous net margin to end up with. But we strive for like 18 to 20% company wide profit margin, if that makes sense. That's combining our maintenance and our install. Um, Maintenance does it kind of evens out because of our high, like large wins and large losses on our install side. Like that profit margin basically equals out to a steady maintenance 10 to 15% net, if that makes sense. That's why we should bet 18. Realistically, we'll plan this year with a 12 to 15% net combination.
Okay,
I
and
don't think it will
then
actually bring us down counting on maintenance that heavy. I really don't.
interesting. And so switching, and is that true, all the way through to the end goal? Do you think, like, when you flip the percentage splits between maintenance and installation, do you think you'll be able to maintain that margin straight through to there?
I think a margin of 10 to 15 is realistic. If we're doing a 60 40 split, 60 maintenance, 40 install, I think a 10 to 15% margin is absolutely doable. And I would even say it's necessary as we're scaling. Otherwise, this is not worth the scaling.
Right. Yeah. No, that's cool. Interesting. Because that's a large reason for people to be typically wanting to skew those splits is to improve margins. They'll see, okay, our margins are way better over here. Let's get more of that. But
Yeah.
that doesn't
Yep.
sound like that's not really what your thinking is. It's more business structure as the reasoning. Yeah.
It's business structure, and for us, I mean, the size company we are, we really want predictability. I want to be able to budget. I'm a big like law of averages kind of guy, so I want to know that it used to be for 7 months a year. I want predictability. Well, I want 12 months. I want 24 months. I want 36 months that I am going to know pretty much what to expect coming in and what to expect coming out. Right. And so the more I can get there, the more I can sleep at night, the more I can invest in other businesses, the more I can have other people do. I can delegate things to them because there's this almost trust in the numbers. Right. When you have the big wins and big losses are not something that are very scalable. It's, it, I guess people do it, right? Like builders do it and stuff like that, but it's a different level of stress. Yeah, I really think predictability changes things for a business owner.
Yeah. No, well, you're I'm the right guy to say that too. I totally agree. I'm very data oriented on everything I do with my clients, and so yeah, it's all about predictability. It's all about statistical significance. It's all about
Yeah.
analysis and certainty around it. Less like the kind of like Hail Mary kind of approach. It's very calculated. So that's a large reason why I'm sort of biased towards maintenance is that there's much more data to work with.
Yeah.
It's just a higher volume of data, and then you have a higher statistical significance, and then you can trust your data even more, as
Yeah.
opposed to installation. Depending on how many jobs you're doing, there's very few companies in our industry that are going to have any data that's statistically significant. And so when we're reverse engineering their numbers to try to make predictions out of it, the margin of error is just so huge that it's like, not easy. So yeah, that
Yeah.
diversification that you're working on makes a lot of sense to me. I appreciate that a lot.
I'd agree. And
Yeah.
I don't want to sound arrogant here at all, but I think it's common that what I've seen in our industry and from other mentors and other like fellow industry partners, it's a pretty common uh, like path to take to start in maintenance to get into your softscapes and installs. If you hover there, you'll usually, and again, this is my total opinion, I'm not fact based at all, it's just from my observation. But that hovering usually takes place in that, like, we'll say the 2 million to like not quite $4 million space, like that 2 to $3.5 million space. They'll hover in installs, usually abandon maintenance because you can't really do both at that size. But then once you come out of that 4 million to 5 to 6 to 10 to 25, it's not very common to see people not only not neglect maintenance, they'll actually pick it back up and realize that's the bread and butter. The install side kind of becomes a secondary, like it's a great feeder, it's fun, look for company image and everything. Like it's a great thing, but it's like the quiet beast is the maintenance. It's actually driving the machine. But unless you break out of that $3.5 million range, you're never going to see that or believe it. You're actually going to hate it as it is. It pulls so much energy.
Right. Yeah, interesting. The other way I see people splitting, I'll see them moving away from maintenance to installation, like you say, or a lot of guys too will move towards more of the chemical stuff, which
Yeah.
that if they're really watching companies' margins and looking around at their
Yeah.
competition, those margins can be pretty tempting.
Yeah.
Are you into the fertilizer and weed control and that stuff as well? And
We do. Yeah. It's part of some of our packages. So we'll do, we have a one-man crew for tech that also kind of shares the irrigation. So both those departments are pretty light right now for us as we're scaling. Looking to obviously break those apart and have like them grow as well. But yeah, the service we offer is not going to be huge for us right
yeah, yeah. So I'm curious about working. I'm sorry, what your partner you said was named?
now. Kenneth.
I can't remember. Kenneth. Yeah. Um, I've worked with businesses before that have partners that run them, and sometimes it's been very difficult to work with them.
Yeah.
Where if there's not somebody kind of steering the ship, then nobody's steering the ship, kind of thing. How do you guys divide up responsibilities and make sure that that's not the case? Which I assume it's not, because you seem very happy with your
Yeah.
arrangements. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. And it's something I'm extremely passionate about. So many people at the beginning, Chris talked against us doing it. They said what did they say? Like the only ship, all ships sink, or part of Africa, what the thing is, but just like so negative about it. And I get it. Like there have been disaster partnerships, right? Similar to like a divorce. If you divorce, like it's not usually pretty in any sense of the word. So, we were childhood best friends, had like not a falling out, but like we lost contact in part of high school, college years, then we joined back. And just really developed like a strong trust through a series of just like multiple events in life and, just things that happen in life, right? We just built this trust up for years. And then, in business, I think what has really gotten us to be able to succeed is communication is everything, right? It's a generic like cop out word, but communication and then just setting boundaries and having clear expectations, right, with each other and not being afraid of conflict and in fact, like welcoming conflict into our relationship all the time because it's healthy conflict, right? And if we didn't have conflict, you would have that feeling in your chest bottling up every day because I 10 times a day am annoyed at Ken, right? And probably 25 times a day, he's annoyed at me. That is right. And so there's no lie there, but the difference is me being able to literally sit on a video call like this with him or in person and say, hey, just so you know, you're really annoying me because of X, Y, and Z. This is what you had said. I don't know if you meant it that way, but this is the way it came across right now. That's not okay because we agreed to this. Literally, like it is, we don't hold back anything out of respect, like, to make sure we're respecting each other and to make sure we know where we're at live at all times. And that has literally propelled us into areas that I have never thought I would be able to like to be grown into, right? And vice versa for him. And it we have for a while we had overlapping roles, and I would do some stuff that he would do, and that didn't work. So we did have I guess a season or period where we like truly set expectations. Like, hey, this is you. You own this. This is you. You own that. And we every once in a while cross each other's lines and like you back on the wrist and you back up. But easiest way to put it is he basically owns and runs and makes sure we are successful in all things outside facing and marketing and like the outside image of the company. That makes sense. Okay. I make sure, or it's my job to make sure all things internally and inward facing are sound, healthy, and going well. Right. So that would be finances. That would be employment and culture. Right. For him, it would be sales. It would be marketing, right? The things that everyone's seeing about us, customer service, those things, right? The production animal, that's a bit shared, right? So that would be where we would have our production teams help us to bear that task and that duty. But even then, we know if it's a customer service or a certain issue in production, it would be him, right? If it's an employment issue that it would be me. And so it's just knowing where those boundaries are. And when you're confused, reaching out to each other like, hey, is this me or is this you? What should we do? Right. But yeah, communication and conflict and just straight up just respecting each other and just, I mean, I'm a big, like, I love him so much. He loves me. Like we just respect and love each other so much. And that means action. It doesn't just, right.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you have probably a pretty shared vision for what you're trying to accomplish as well, which probably helps. Can you speak to that at all as to what you guys are aiming for?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So like he and I both obviously are running a business. We want to be profitable. We want our families to do well. All that's a given. We wouldn't be working if that wasn't the case. But like our passion and our like vision for this company and all the other companies we run and if our coaching that we do is like not just to bring home the money. It's not just to be like the most biggest, baddest thing out there. It is truly to bring value to others and to each other. Right? And so our vision used to be striving to become the best landscaping company in the world. And I think it was like last year I changed it, striving to become the best landscaping company for the world. Right. And so like that word for versus in, it's small, but it means so much because that's actually what we're striving to be. Like I want to have an impact for the world in whatever way that means. If that means in our volunteer efforts, if that means in the mental health of our employees, if that means in our city becoming more beautiful. It's just for the world, we want it to be better. Right. And that's a simple, obviously like catchy vision statement, but in the heart of it is we want everyone around us to feel respected, loved, safe, and growing, right? Like we truly want everyone around us to be growing. And that can become annoying to a lot of people who don't really want to grow because it's pushing that, on them. You need to grow, but in the end, we both are, we share the same faith and we both just really want to make sure we're like, just loving people. Like in the end, it's like that's the simplest form. I don't care what industry I'm in. If my people are being loved and respected and they're going home to their family and feeling that 8 to 12 hours a day, they were respected and valued and they can take that to their loved ones and then that can be spread. That's what I'm for. And so we share that identically. And again, does it get skewed every once in a while? For sure. Right. We need to be brought back to sometimes, but that's really, I guess the shared vision is in people. When we first got started, I wanted to get a tattoo. I'm glad I didn't, but it was like a stick figure. It was like a stick figure is greater than like a money sign, like people over profit. The concept's great. I don't want the tattoo, but it's, people are greater than profit. That rings true right now.
Yeah. No. Well, that kind of answers my next question, but maybe you can go a bit deeper into it. Are there any ways in particular that you figured out how to do that? Because it's possible to strive for that and fail miserably, It's, like, the saying that comes to mind is, what is it? the road to hell being paved with good intentions, right? So,
Yes.
what do you think? What do you think about how tactically how to actually have a team feel loved and this kind of thing? There's the barbecues and breakfasts and
Sure.
games and things, but like, is there anything in particular that would be useful to share?
Yeah, yeah. So I like that you mentioned like the very practical stuff is like throwing events, giving away gifts, rewards, all that. That seems like it should be a given in this day and age, right? And I think more so, Chris, though, it's not as simple as saying we have this program or we do this one thing that just like, makes everyone love us, right? It is literally like a culmination of like so many little things that add up into being this like feeling and sense and energy that can't really like put your finger on, right? Like I just feel that thing in this place when I'm here, right? And so I'll dig into what that is, and the multiple things that I am intentional about because it's not random. You can't say, yeah, we just show up and these things just feel good. It's like
Yeah.
a very intentional, like tactical thing that we are doing in culture and in like in what I'm doing in my business, not to be manipulative, but to literally say, like, I care so much about this. I need to like, almost like studying it, right? If you're studying a subject, like you want to get better at something. So I'm listening to leadership podcasts and team podcasts and whatnot to get better at this stuff. So the actual like tangible stuff is it starts with making sure your people are taken care of, right? So that's from a pay perspective. So are you paying at least industry average, if not better, right? Are their benefits amazing? Are their retirement plans amazing? What other perks are you giving them that they could say, like, I physically feel taken care of here? That's the basics. Again, to me, doesn't seem like I don't know, you know, earth shattering to offer these things that are better than other companies. Um, but then more so, that environment that you create. So walking into my shop, right? Photos everywhere of the team. We have a grow with us wall. Puts everyone not face shots, it's like a personal photo they send in at their onboarding and then we go on our team wall, mission vision up there. We have our rewards for our company there. It's a very welcoming spot. We spent money to basically clean up what was like our old warehouse that looked a bit dingy to make it look just like more welcoming. Right. So that's one thing. When you walk into work, I'm proud of where I am. I actually feel comfortable here. I'm safe when I'm here, right? But
What are
then
those
more so,
pictures?
yeah.
You said they're not face shots, or I just want to
Oh,
get
yeah,
that.
sorry. They're not like sterile, like this is my work photo. It's like them with their families or them with
Oh,
their
I
dog
see.
and doing something they love. It's a very personal photo that we intentionally get whenever they come on, onto our team.
Cool.
Um, and then, but really what it like that's loving people, right? It's surrounding people with other people that care about them and share that vision as well. So when I'm failing at my job, I'm allowing people into my company who don't share that vision, and then they're bringing that down, right? But I'm doing my job well as whatever culture expert or whatever, right? Then I'm going to like make sure I'm allowing people in the company that are just going to like perpetuate this and make this better and better and better. So when you walk in, Chris, if you walk into my office or into our shop, you would say, wow, everyone around here is like super kind and welcome, right? That's what we want you to feel. And that's not an act. It's that that is making people then go home to their families and say, I feel loved and appreciated. It's the people around, right? It's not the program. It's not the pay. It is truly them being surrounded by people who are like equally, if not more caring.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well,
the structures people.
yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. How do you what do you look for to weed that out in the first place? How would you know if somebody's faking that they love being there or that they want to be there or whatever?
Yeah, it's usually pretty easy to spot out quickly. It's on interviews, we do most of our like field test interviews virtually. You can catch most of it there. We do culture based hiring, so all of our team knows that um, certain positions need certain skill levels to join, but most positions are very trainable. So we have a safety and training manager who'll pick you up and make sure that you're picking it up pretty quickly. But if you don't have the character, instantly, I don't care how good of a builder or how many years you've been doing this, like you can read that the first 1 minute of an interview and I'll see my admin taking notes like not a hire, not a hire. Like you just know right away, right? And so, but as soon as you get into the character portion, or you see that they're like a good fit there, then we can start asking tactical questions, see where they fit in best, because we'll make it work. They're the right person. Um, for sure, people slip through the cracks and we get people in like, oh man, what did I do here? This is not a good decision. This year, yeah, we all people that we have let go and it's just my miss, right? But it the team usually speaks for it. They won't say it directly, but you'll get feedback pretty quickly. Like, hey, this guy or girl probably shouldn't be here. So
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
do yeah.
Is there anything in particular that you look for whether or not they have that character in the first few minutes, or is it just pure gut feel from having done it a million times? Or, I mean, probably if we boiled down what is causing the gut feel, we could find some kind of indicator, eye contact or something. But
Yeah.
any ideas on that?
Yeah. So some of that, it's for sure. I mean, like simple things. Are they bragging? Are they arrogant? How are they talking about their last employer? Right. But then even more so, I have like, family relationship questions, even questions about their pets and stuff like that. Like just very personal stuff. I just get right into it. And now the people who do other interviews or my interviews for me will do that. But how are they talking about their girlfriend or their boyfriend? Right. How are they talking about their kids? How are they talking about their free time? How are they spending their free time? Right. And so how are they treating themselves? How do they view themselves? And then if it's negative, not respectful, it's not honoring to the people that they're talking about, like, how do you think they're gonna honor anyone around you or yourself, right, as their manager or boss? And, it's pretty simple. We have, like, our interview template I built. It's a mix of skill questions and character questions, and pretty simple to get to that with just, yeah, how they're talking about their life, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I've heard of people, I've heard the question of asking, what did you think about your last boss, or how was it at your last job or whatever? And it's always going to be a repeat, the same thing again. It's going to be
Yep.
repetitive. But I really like adding in asking them about their family and their pets and their girlfriend and stuff. That's another layer that, yeah, that's good.
It seems
Makes
awkward,
sense.
and some people don't understand it in an interview. They're like, I'm interviewing for a hard gig position, and I'm getting into the weeds about stuff like that. But I'm very intentional. And I've interviewed, yeah, hundreds of people. So I don't really care how awkward it gets. It is what it is. I'd rather figure out on the front end. Right? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and they're probably coming from somebody else who's like, "Yeah, show up on Monday and maybe you have the
yeah.
job," so they're used
Yeah,
to
exactly.
it being a little bit different. Yeah, interesting. Hmm. Well, okay, it's a little bit out of your wheelhouse, but I'm curious how you're thinking about it. But how are you guys thinking about growth and acquisition and marketing?
Yeah, good question. So, uh, we have not yet had any acquisitions. We've only done natural growth and whatnot. It's been good. We are at the point now and kind of crux of making some decisions in that, especially as we're looking to scale maintenance. There's many options and ways you can go about this, right? And so actually on Thursday, we have a conversation with our accountant and our banker to talk about us possibly acquiring a small maintenance firm in our area that we've been in touch with for the last, actually since we begun. He was kind of a mentor at first, and it's been
Cool.
really cool to see that, we significantly outgrown him. He sold your absolutely incredible guy, but looking to get out soon. And he has some very attractive clients and things of that nature that they could be really good for us. And then, so that's one conversation. And the other was actually a holiday lighting business. Again, a small franchise business that we do take on to increase our winter revenue in our maintenance department. So those sorts of things are looking a lot less intimidating these days and a lot more attractive. I'll be honest, it still is a bit intimidating for me. And it's weird to think about, like it as a liability. Like, oh, if we buy this company, we take this on, whether it's through loan or through financing. Um, what if it doesn't work? We've only ever known the natural way of doing this, but so there is that fear there, but it is nearly, a no brainer. And it seems that though the things are plug and play oftentimes, especially if they're structured correctly with the owners, right? You have a proper buyout, a proper agreement on how long the owner's going to stay on for that transitional stage because there's incentive for them. So, stuff seems like a no brainer, but it still is very new for us, Chris. I think probably one of those will probably turn out this year. I don't know that both will, just because the loss to bite off. But I'm excited to see where things like
Yeah, I've seen some other companies have a lot of luck with that, and I've spoken with some guys on the podcast even that have bought a few companies, and they have
yeah,
had some experience with it, and it definitely seems that you're on the right track to have a strong relationship with the previous owner of
yeah,
whoever you're interested in acquiring, because that seems to be pretty critical. In fact, the one of the guys I was speaking to, he was talking about how important it is. The How do I word this? He was working with an agency to help him acquire a business. And a big part of what the agency did was make him attractive as a buyer, which was something I would have never even thought
wow,
of. Yeah, because and then the other thing that he mentioned was that they were a big part of the strategy was, um, looking specifically for businesses that aren't for sale.
Mm,
Right? 'Cause so it's a whole different ballpark, right? Because there's a lot of guys that wanna get out of businesses that aren't working that well, right? It's
yeah,
another thing to come and sell yourself to somebody who's not even interested in selling and
yeah,
saying, "Hey, this can work out better for all of us," and, that's why it was so important of how he presented himself, such that the other owner would be wanting to kind of, like, hand over their baby and their client list and all that to somebody else.
yeah,
That's the experience I had too, actually, when I sold my business a while ago. I was, wasn't a big business. It wasn't a huge deal by any means, but, I set it up sort of as, kind of a blind. It wasn't an auction. I don't know. I asked everybody sort of. I had an asking price, and then, uh, I had a bunch of people that were interested. And so rather than just giving it to the highest bidder, I kind of said, okay, there's a bunch of you that are interested. Are you willing to give more than the asking price, sort of? And then what happened was the the highest bidder was, significantly higher, but I Googled his name, and he came up on his I don't know if it was him, no proof, but
yeah.
his name came up under a Google search for some sort of court records for home burglary. And so I
Oh,
was
no.
so I emailed him and was like, "Hey, like, you're in the running to buy this, but like, we're gonna have to explain to the client base, like, why this guy with the same name as you is
Yeah.
been robbing, because, everybody wants to know who's gonna be in their
That's
backyard
right. That's right.
protecting their properties." And, I never heard back from him again. So
Yeah.
so then the second highest bidder, uh, I didn't like them. They were good guys, but it was just a bunch of drywallers that were looking for work to do in the summer, or
Yeah,
when they weren't drywalling in the winter, and it was like, I don't think my clients are gonna really love you, they're
right,
just
right.
wanting to throw some work at some guys for cash, I
Yeah,
don't know that that's gonna work out. So I wound up selling it to a very nice, family business for the 3rd offer. But yeah, that was a real, experience in my part
yep,
for like, buying into the person that's buying your business.
yep,
It's an interesting layer to all of that. But
for
how
sure.
about, how about on the marketing side with you guys? Are you doing a lot of, advertising and Google Ads and Facebook ads and all that, or is it mostly word of mouth, or how has that
Yeah,
been?
no, no, and again, my business partner kind of handles most of that, but, we use an outside agency to do our, SEO. We had someone build our website a couple years back, and then they were running our kind of maintenance for a while. We also didn't transfer to someone else to do that, and, they run our ad campaigns and whatnot. We don't throw a ton out in Google Ads and Facebook ads at this point. We really focus on our SEO and being top results for however many words they work on there for us. So that's been going really well. And they run, yeah, all things like we do a newsletter. They run any sort of like rebranding or tweaking of things that they handle that as well. And we've been very happy with them in a lot of ways. So it's been going well. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was a life changing thing too. We were using a Squarespace website for 6 years of our business, and it was fine. It was, did what we needed to do. And I was very hesitant to spend the kind of money that we did on our website rebuild. And I mean, it has paid dip. So I'm very thankful that Ken taught me into that. So
Yeah, maybe it's too far outside of, what you're working on, but do you have any thoughts on what makes for a good relationship with the marketing agency?
yeah, good question. So yes. So for us, a lot of it is when we're running a business, right? We don't really have the like brain space or time to like strategize with our marketing agency. We want them to strategize honestly for us in a lot of ways, and we're happy to pay for that. But I don't really want to come up with the cool, innovative things that like I should. Like I want them to tell me what makes sense and what works. And if they don't know our industry, well, they're I'll speak candidly. I think it's their job to figure out what works in our industry, in our area, and for what we're trying to accomplish. So we can say, hey, we will provide you with photos, videos, and like make sure we're giving you what you need. From there, we really need you to run with it. So if you have an idea on the way our logo should be changed, the way our name should be changed, you should let us know those suggestions. Ultimately, it's our responsibility to make those changes and then to give them the go ahead. And I think that's totally, totally fair. But our previous company we were using, a lot of it would be, so we get on a call like this and it wouldn't be exactly like this, but basically, so what do you want to talk about? And like, no, 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 like we don't want to just like talk about this. Like we want to come with like, hopefully you would have an agenda of sorts, say, hey, here's what we want to see. Here's your plan for the next 5 years. Do you guys agree with this? Um, Chris, I think to sum it up, we've been really replacing any sort of partner that we had that was solid, did good work, did what we needed them to do, but we were replacing them with strategic partners. So like, I think it's a size thing as well. So we replaced this past year our lawyer, our accountant, our banker, like all these things have changed hands. It's like a natural progression and it's switching to people that are basically advisors in their field, right? Like we need people who are doing what they do best and telling us what we should do internally per their advice versus being reactive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard it. I've heard people dance around that idea, but that's fascinating. So yeah, you want them to be more proactive on their part of it. Yeah. Hmm. And then okay. Another question on that along that lines is when you're do you how do you hold them accountable? Like there's two sides to that, right? It's like
Right.
you give them the responsibility, then you kind of like do you still hold them accountable or are they expected to hold themselves accountable? Sort of, how how do
That's
you
a good
communicate that?
question. That would probably be a Ken question, to be honest. He gives me a report every so often when I'm interested in it, but it's basically lead flow is everything, right? Or a lead flow and cost per lead is right. I think that would be the accountability there. Obviously, he
Right.
probably digs a bit deeper, but yeah, I don't have a good answer for that one because he would there's a high level of trust. And I think if things which they did, we had a slowdown earlier in the year when economy stuff was going on or whatever. We saw like a weird slowdown in lead flow, and that was a bit scary for us. We leaned in very hard into them. They're like, hey, what's going on here? Like, please help us. And it obviously wasn't their fault. It was just a mix of things. But they kicked in the gear and yeah, helped us to turn it around, which is cool.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, I think a lot of companies have trouble with that. You just hear so many horror stories of the marketing company that took all the money and disappeared and didn't get any results and
Yep.
so I'm always trying to dig around as to, why is that? I think a lot of the cases are just people unfortunately not having well, they have a mismatched expectation and budget, right?
Yep.
So they have, the beer budget and champagne expectation,
Yeah.
and one of them that I like to ask people is is uh whether or not they're reporting financial data back to marketing because I see a big misnomer being that the business expects marketing to be their CMO, but they aren't giving them the data to
Mhm.
actually be their CMO. And so you get this disconnect where marketing thinks the company's kind of driving the ship and then the company thinks marketing's driving the ship, but it's actually impossible for marketing to be driving the ship because they don't have the financial data they need to be able to do it. And so a lot of the stuff that I teach people that I work with is around how to empower them as the CMO or how to properly delegate that and know that somebody else actually has access to what they need to do that. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
something I'm always kind of digging into. It's really fascinating. It's the whole market is really changing too in the marketing world, like with the way that data is available and the way that we can have data that we can measure things in the first place. It used to be, you throw something on the radio and see what happens and nobody's accountable. But now that we
Yeah.
have so much data, like it's really not the case anymore. So it's super fascinating for me because also I see how um well always when somebody wants me to come and analyze their numbers and 'cause I do a lot of sort of financial analysis around business growth specifically and tying the profits back to the marketing efforts and,
Yep.
and cross connecting that gap that seems to exist in most businesses and yeah for the most part most marketing don't do that,
Yep.
and so there's a big black hole in the middle there that a lot of companies are figuring out that it's kind of not their fault because I don't think that there was a way to figure it out until just in the last maybe 3, 4 years where there's new
Yeah.
tools that are coming out that are making it possible.
It's evolved significantly for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Well, I'm seeing our time running out here. I like to end these with a pretty open-ended question. It doesn't have to be world-changing or anything like that, but were there any last ideas that you'd like to leave off on that you'd like to share with anybody watching this, listening to this?
Yeah. So I think, off the top of my head, anyone who's listening, I think it's just so important to know, like owning a business is hard, right? It has all its stuff here, but I think the biggest enemy to growth is yourself, right? And the biggest, your biggest critic, you are your biggest critic, right? And I think it's so important to know that like we are all, speak for us, like as entrepreneurs, as people in this industry, are so capable of so much more. But we allow these voices from outside and inside to be the gigantic limiting factor. And I think I've been fortunate enough to have a partner that picks me up when I'm down and vice versa. And we're able to like truly sharpen each other to grow into something that is impossible without each other. But even if you don't have a partner, it's so important to surround yourself with others who are not only just positive and just, just being positive, even in times where you want to grow and whatnot, but you do want to surround yourself with people who are positive, who are lifting you up and challenging you to be better than who you already are. And I don't mean you need to join a ton of peer groups and be obsessive about, just having positive affirmation and just having growth. Like it's great to chill with friends around a campfire or swim in a pool and like not talk about business if that's what, if you don't want to. But for the majority of your time and the majority of the friends you're surrounding yourself with, the family you're surrounding yourself with, it's very important that those people are lifting you up in some way. It could be small ways, it could be big ways, but if you're leaving your job that's already stressful, I mean, I get stressed at work as well. But if you're going home to more stress or more negativity and you're choosing to go hang out with people who are perpetuating that, it's only going to impact you that way, the next day, the next year and following, you're actually never going to get out of that cycle. So it takes a cycle breaker in that, but it's not comfortable, but I make very conscious decisions in my life to just stop surrounding myself with certain people, family, certain friends. Like it is one of those things. And that has really helped me to grow, not just by myself, but grow into like relationships and friendships and with my wife and with my kids in very healthy, very like very good ways for them as well. So I think that's, I don't know, it's kind of fluffy, but it is like, it's been the driving force for me for a while. And it's even, it's been cool to see that like it's impacted my mental health, right? It's impacted the way I treat my body and watching to work out or ride my bike because like the influences that are in my life, even my employees that I'm choosing to spend more time with generally are like sharing in that mindset. Um, it's the intangible things, right? That have like allowed us to grow into what we've done. It's allowed us to make the mistakes we've done, to learn from those mistakes, but like it in surrounding yourself with the right people literally changes your life forever. And you won't ever see it in like a snapshot, but it's these little things, just like my culture, right? It's the little things that add up into being this kind of aha moment where, oh, wow, I didn't realize that I'm, so much different than I was 5 years ago. Then our company literally looks like something I never thought it would 5 years ago. I couldn't even fathom what I'm doing now years ago, or even a year ago, but it was intentional, right? It takes hard decisions. Takes saying no to a lot of things, right? And saying yes to new awkward things, new awkward people, right? New awkward relationships. Like, you gotta go for it, send it. Like, don't get comfortable. I don't hodgepodge of thought, but I hope it makes sense. I hope it resonates.
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me, and I've had a very similar experience that I stand fully behind what you're
Oh
saying.
man.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Well, thank you very much for coming and speaking with me. I really appreciate it.